Conner.
And I'm Rachel Tiemeyer.
We are Team Thriving Home, and today we are working through prep session number 16. Now this one is a fun one because you can choose your own protein adventure.
We give you lots of choice with each recipe, so you can choose whichever meat you find on sale, whichever one your family likes. Our first recipe is steak and chicken fajitas. Guys, I think you're gonna love this one. It works great in the freezer, or you can make it fresh tonight. The second one is one that my freezer club has. I was in a freezer club for 7 years. We made this all the time. It was our home run recipe, is what we called it. So we made it again and again. It's mini chicken or turkey burgers. Kids and adults love this one.
Yep.
And then our last one is our sweet and savory salmon, or you can make it as chicken. And there's lots of ways to serve this. It's a delicious marinade that you can reduce into a sauce. I think you guys are gonna love it.
Yep. Now before you get started, make sure you have everything set out. It's gonna make your prep session go so much more smoothly. Wash your produce, open your meat packages, get all your equipment and ingredients out, and you'll be ready to roll. So,
all right,
ready
let's
to
get going.
Woo! All right, we're kicking things off. Step one, as always, we are taking our labels that are in your packet and we're going to attach them to our freezer container of choice. Now, for this prep session, we're using all Ziploc bags. Other ones we use casserole dishes, but this one's pretty easy. So I've already even cut my tape to make it easy. I'm gonna attach that, and then we're gonna set them up in our handy dandy bag holders. Now, we always have a link to this in our show notes and in our Amazon store. You're gonna want those if freezer prepping is a normal thing for you.
So your fajita bags, you'll go ahead and put in these little baggie holders. And then you also want to put your sweet and savory salmon or chicken bags in the baggie holders. If you don't have baggie holders, grab some bowls. And you just need something for stability for those bags. The chicken burgers are different. You're going to open them up and lay them on the counter. And that way they're waiting for you, because you're going to, in a little bit, you're going to make your patties and then slide them in there and leave them in a single layer. And you're going to freeze them flat.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm going to finish this up and then pause if you need to and meet us here for step 2.
All right, we're on step 2. We're gonna prep all the produce for all of the recipes right now. I'm gonna start with, I have a bunch of parsley. This one's kind of lame looking.
We said it was kind of sad parsley.
It is sad parsley. I ordered it online.
A little droopy.
I ordered it online. Here's the thing with parsley is you want to avoid the stems. Not the same with cilantro. With cilantro, you can eat the stems, but with parsley, they're a little woody and not great flavor. So I'm just gonna, as much as I can, stick to chopping the leaves here. These are going to go in your chicken burgers, so you do want it to be fairly fine, because you don't probably want a giant leaf of parsley in your chicken burger.
My kids would be very offended by that.
Oh, what?
You put green stuff in here.
At what point do at what point did we grow out of?
I don't know.
Like,
does Jack care about green stuff?
So my oldest,
15,
he's got like aversions. He's 15, but he's got aversions to weird things like fruit. But he'll eat mushrooms, he'll eat anything green. Okay. Okay, so I chopped this. Yes. You want about a half cup, and I'm eyeballing it, and that actually
smells good.
That looks about right.
Even though it looks sad, it smells good.
Well, good.
Okay, the next step is going to be to thinly slice 2 green onions. The green and white parts of these.
And sometimes recipes will say only green or only the white parts. This one, you can do both. I am noticing these are huge green onions.
Yeah, that's okay.
So you really only need about 2 tablespoons. But honestly, if you get a little more than that, it's not the end of the world. These are going in your salmon,
the marinade, right? So, yeah, marinades can be, you can be pretty flexible.
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm kind of moving these around in piles, so they're waiting on me when it's time to build these recipes.
Okay, next step is going to peel and grate 2 tablespoons of fresh ginger root. Okay,
so have you guys worked with ginger root before? It smells amazing. We love fresh ginger, but if you couldn't find it, they have like paste now.
I've seen that. Yeah, it's like in a tube.
Right. So somebody else has done the work.
Yeah.
Literally a year ago bought, because here's the thing, it's hard to buy just a little bit of ginger. Yeah. You usually buy this big giant kind of like knobby looking thing. Yeah, it's a root. Once you peel it, which I'm using a paring knife to do this. Some people say use like a spoon, but I don't find that very helpful. Like you turn a spoon and invert it. I just think that the paring knife works nicely for it. So you peel off the skin, and it smells like kind of lemony. It tastes spicy a little bit. It's a very cool flavor. I love it.
It's supposed to be good for stomach aches.
Have you heard that?
Nausea. it didn't really help me when I was pregnant.
I know when you're pregnant,
I remember like, oh, this tastes awful.
There's some sort
I
of...
tried some ginger tea, I think.
Yes.
I was like,
yeah.
this is not helping.
Oh my gosh, I love the smell of that so much. Okay, but my point is, once you get this peeled, any leftover, the best idea is to throw it in a freezer bag and freeze it. I've had it in my freezer for a year, and I still...
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
It's still good?
It's still good, and I continue to grate it and use it, and it tastes like fresh.
Nice.
So this is one of those that freezes really well. Okay, I got that peeled. Now, here's a microplane. We suggest buying one of these. They're really a handy tool. If you don't have this, though, a fine grater works just fine. So I'm just going to get at it here. How much do I need, Polly?
2 tablespoons.
2 tablespoons. This won't take long, really.
Right. I use this microplane a lot for zesting. I mean, we'll do it here in a second. With
Yeah.
Lime, when you need lime zest or lemon zest or something, it's great
Yeah.
for that too. Also, Parmesan cheese. I use it for Parmesan cheese quite a bit.
Yeah, I do too.
It's a great tool to have.
I feel like I use it all the time.
Yeah, I know.
My kids like to use it too. Okay, so here's the thing. It collects on the back, so you gotta like tap, tap.
Yeah.
It's about
a tablespoon.
a tablespoon.
The nice thing about this too, it doesn't like cut your fingers.
Yeah, exactly.
If you like a shredder, if you're trying to shred cheese on it and you like miscalculate, you can
Yes.
actually like cut your fingers. This is like pretty forgiving.
Yeah. But it's great for things like this and zesting citrus, which is also, you'll notice our recipes are kind of a blend of like super easy ingredients, but we like to kick it up with fresh produce, fresh things like just like this, like fresh ginger or zest. Okay, I'm feeling
really
like I got enough ginger at this point.
All right, we're going to rinse that off and we're going to zest 4 limes.
You know what? And I'm just using my finger to kind of...
Let me rinse it for you real quick.
No, I think
Or you
it's
just
good
gonna go
because
for
it's
it?
going in the same...
That's true.
Well, actually,
the
no,
limes
it's
are
not.
going to be different.
Can you rinse that off?
Yep.
Thank you, thank you. All right, I'm going to clean up here for a second.
Again, this is one of the beauties of making a bunch of meals at once is it saves so much time just to do like all the produce at once rather than making this 6 separate meals. What do you need? Oh.
What do you need? What do you
need?
Just trying to figure out what to do next. You can tell we're friends. We've been friends a long time. All right, so we got 4 limes. We're going to zest them using the microplane grater. So here's the key when you're zesting, if you haven't done this before, is you're just continually moving this lime around the microplane, and you don't want to get too deep into the white part. That's called the pith, and it's pretty bitter. So you just want the green part, and that zest, what it is it's like where all the delicious citrus oils live. It smells amazing, and it adds a lot of flavor without a lot of zest to the fajitas. That's what we're using it in today.
Yep.
So, here we go.
All right, 4 limes and 1 down. One thing, we also have a blog post on our site about freezing green onions. It's such a random post I wrote so many years ago because I used to grow a ton in my garden. And I'd be like, what do I do with all these like fresh organic green onions? And so I learned like this. I just chop them up and I freeze them in a bag. And now their texture does change, but if you're going to use them in a marinade or a soup, it doesn't matter the texture. So I would, if you like grow green onions or buy a bunch of them, because you only need 2 for this recipe, most likely you're going to buy a bunch of them. You could still chop them up and just freeze them for future recipes or marinades or whatever. So
that's a good idea.
Got a little tip there.
Yeah. So the other thing is, what do you do with these limes that you're not going to use? Because we're not juicing them this time. Well, I would suggest throwing them in a bag and sticking them in your fridge so they'll last quite a while. And serve them with the fajitas. When it's time to serve the fajitas, it's so good to put like a fresh squeeze of lime over the top of the meat or over each fajita.
I was going to say gin and tonics, but fajitas are
or
good too.
do that too. We're
it's
not
a
that
good spring drink, you know?
we're not that cool. Do you
Spring
make those at your house?
We do, yeah.
Oh, it's because your husband's like a bartender.
He likes to pretend he's a bartender sometimes. It makes a good G&T though.
That's funny. Okay.
We always have limes in our house.
Well, we'll leave these for you today.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Look at all that lime zest. I'm going to just get
that
the
does
bit.
look good. Man.
So good. That was fast,
I need
too.
a candle made of all this.
The last thing is just slice your lemon in half, because not with this. Not with your microplane.
That's going to take a while.
I know. So I'm going to slice that in half, and that one will go in our chicken burgers. Okay, produce done.
Good job. All right, we're on step 3, and we are going to prep the fajita marinade. Now, Rachel's going to list off the things I need to go in this.
You're going to start with a 1/4 cup of avocado oil in each bag. We love avocado oil. It's a healthy oil. However, if you don't have this, olive oil will work just fine.
I get my avocado oil delivered from Amazon.
Yeah.
So I have it on subscription.
It's a great idea.
Yep. Okay, next.
Half of the lime zest.
Oh.
So what you zested, you're going to put half in each bag, which for us kind of ended up being about, I don't know, 1.5 tablespoons.
Yeah,
maybe?
a heaping tablespoon probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next up, you want 1.5 teaspoons of cumin. We were just dialoguing, like she says cumin, I say cumin. You say tomato, I say tomato.
No, I don't say tomato.
I don't know. No one, who says tomato?
Okay.
People in England do.
Okay, so we need 1.5.
1.5 teaspoons of cumin.
One in each.
And that's your smokiness. 1.5 teaspoons of chili powder for just a little heat.
Okay,
And
slow down, slow down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't want to miss. We think yesterday I might have messed up some ingredients while I was cooking, so we don't want to happen again.
It happens.
Okay, one, half. Okay.
Okay. Of the chili powder.
Yes.
Wow, I'm making you work really fast.
I
here.
know. Okay.
You guys, don't stress.
I'm good.
Go at your own pace.
Yes.
We don't mean to rush you.
Pause if you need to.
Next up is 1 teaspoon of salt in each bag, an essential part of the marinade.
Okay. Done.
Now, a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper.
Got it.
A little kick.
Got it. Okay.
3/4 teaspoon oregano.
All right.
You'll find oregano is in a lot of Tex-Mex marinades and recipes.
I'm doing a heaping teaspoon.
Good job. You know, that's great.
Yeah. It's a marinade. It's fine.
Now a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder.
Okay.
I like this recipe because everything's in your pantry, more or less, other than the lime.
Seriously.
You're good to go.
I love recipes like this.
And then a pinch of red pepper flakes.
Yep.
If you don't have red pepper flakes on hand, you could use hot sauce.
Ready for my pinch?
That'd be easy. Oh, more than that, girl.
More than that?
Oh, yeah.
I guess it is a marinade.
Yeah. Yeah, there you
Okay.
go. There you go. Okay, so now what I want you to do is seal it, and let's blend this up. You kind of have to do, you can squish it with your hands or, you know, kind of toss it around. Okay? So
Saves a dish by doing this.
Yeah.
You could put this all like in a bowl and do it, but
Yeah.
why use an extra dish?
I know. And so you're going to be like, that's not a lot of marinade, but guess what? It is perfect. We test this multiple times. It gets all in that meat, but it's not too oily. So I think you're going to like the amount this is.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to our next marinade. Step 4, you're going to make your marinade for your sweet and savory chicken or salmon. So Polly's going to start with doing a 4th cup of honey in each of the bags. She's already got a 4th cup in one of the bags, and so she's just going to put the rest.
We have a honey shortage situation in the house, so we're we're working with what we have here.
Happens to people making videos.
Here, how about you let that drip out? I've heard that if you microwave it a little bit, like if it starts getting a little crystallized like that,
or set it in warm water.
Yeah, just get it kind of warmed up.
Okay, teamwork.
Okay, you work on that.
Teamwork
I'm going to keep going forward with the soy sauce. So we're going to do 2 tablespoons of soy sauce.
Yep, and do buy the reduced sodium. I tested this the other way with like the full sodium and too much salt.
Yes. Salty. And then this is this the gluten-free kind?
This is not, but if you want gluten-free, it's called gluten-free tamari soy sauce, or you can use coconut aminos or stores out of it. I usually get that, but that's okay. 1 tablespoon of rice vinegar. It's important not to get, there's 2 kinds. There's seasoned and unseasoned. It'll say seasoned on it if it's seasoned. And we learned the hard way, actually, when we were doing food photography for our cookbook, is they bought the seasoned rice wine vinegar, this team that was shooting our recipes, and one of the recipes was like way too salty. So we figured out it's because they bought seasoned. You want unseasoned for this recipe.
Okay.
Okay, next up is you want a tablespoon. That's a teaspoon.
Oh, that's a teaspoon.
So there's 3 teaspoons in every tablespoon, so we can, easy to fix.
3. There we go.
Sesame oil is a very distinct flavor.
Yeah.
So if you smell it,
it's powerful.
It's basically sesame. The oil is sesame seeds. It's powerful. It's nutty. You don't want to go overboard with it, but 1 tablespoon is just right here. All right. You want to grab your grated ginger real quick. So 1 tablespoon of grated ginger. So basically, whatever you grated, take half of that. Or if you have ginger paste, you can squeeze a tablespoon in each bag. This is a super flavorful marinade.
It is. This has got some like powerhouse ingredients in it for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And then 1.5 teaspoons of minced garlic. So in that prep your produce section, we forgot to say there was an extra note there.
Rinse this off real quick.
If you couldn't find the pre-minced garlic or don't have it, you would need to now like mince your garlic cloves.
Yeah.
So
how much? 1.5?
1.5 teaspoons of minced garlic, Or if you're doing your own garlic cloves, it's 3 garlic cloves per bag. Ish.
Garlic, I'm always like 1.5, maybe 2.
Yeah.
I love my garlic.
Okay, so now we're going to go back to our sliced green onions that are on the board. So just do half the green onion in each bag, roughly a tablespoon, but again, ish.
Using my food mover here.
Using your food mover.
I love my food hand.
I love that. That's probably 2 tablespoons, but you know, it's all right.
Okay.
All right. You with us? You following along?
Pause if you need to.
Okay, next up, we want an 1/8 to a 4th teaspoon of the red pepper flakes. So this is kind of dependent on your heat preference. I don't mind a little bit more, but if you're worried about, yeah, sure. If you're worried about your kiddos thinking it's too spicy or whatever, that's fine. Cut back on it. 2 more ingredients. A 4th teaspoon of black pepper in each one.
Okay.
And then if you did use the reduced sodium soy sauce, you're going to put in this last ingredient, which is a 4th teaspoon of salt. If you didn't buy the reduced sodium, don't add the salt. No need.
All right.
So just
That's
like
a lot of ingredients.
I know. Just like the last one, seal it, and let's get that all mixed. And so it's ready for us. Because you really got to kind of get that honey worked in.
And the reason we're doing the marinades all together is so we don't have to like touch chicken, put it in one, go wash the hands, and start all over. If you're going to be like messing with raw meat, then it's nice to do it all at once rather than having to like break it into different steps.
That's a great point. Okay, we're going to set these back here, and we're going to get to work on our proteins next.
We're on step 5, and we are going to prep our proteins. So Rachel is going to be the cutter on this, and we're going to start with the steak for the fajitas. Now, Rachel, what are you doing here?
Well, so when you make fajitas, for this recipe especially, you want your meat really thinly sliced, because what you're going to do on the other end of it stay in the freezer or in the marinade is you're going to cook it at really high heat in a saute pan with a little bit of oil. And you want it to cook up. I mean, this will cook in like 3 minutes.
It cooks really fast.
It cooks very fast.
Which makes it a great weeknight meal.
It's an awesome weeknight meal. What I also love about this recipe is we're having you freeze it as a meal kit. So you'll actually have the frozen veggies ready to go, like peppers and onions. And so what I'll have you do is like you'll saute and cook your onions and peppers first. And I was just telling Polly about this. What's fun about this recipe, I learned something new. There's a secret ingredient in your veggies that just make them taste like restaurant quality. I couldn't believe it. You have to add a little bit of sugar. It's not much. It's like a half teaspoon. But you do that, and I'm telling you, those veggies taste delicious.
All the health food people out there are like, oh, no, sugar to veggies.
I know. So one of the things to note when you're slicing the steak, I should have said this at the beginning, is you'll notice that like in your steak, the meat has a particular grain. It goes a certain direction. So you're trying to cut across the grain. Also, I usually chop off like the fat.
Little pieces of fat.
I'm not the big, I don't like fat.
You don't like to chew on lard during your fajitas?
Yuck. So anyway, okay, that's how you slice the steak. I'm going to do some more of this in a minute. But I wanted to show you how to slice. If you have chicken, it's going to be just slightly different, okay? So here's one of our chicken breasts. I want this very thin, and I found that if I just slice the chicken breast as is, it's really kind of too big. So we're gonna slice the chicken breast in half to make 2 cutlets. We're gonna do this again later for another step too. But now I have these really thin chicken cutlets, and now I can do the same thing. So you'll see the meat goes a particular direction, and I wanna cut it across the grain. So not with the grain. When you cut across the grain, your meat will end up being much more tender. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna finish up slicing our meat very thinly, and then we're gonna drop it directly into our bags. So steak, Polly, you want steak?
Yes.
Okay, steak. So Polly's gonna take steak, so I'm gonna put all the steak in one bag, and then when I'm done slicing the chicken, it'll all go in my other bag. Now you probably have steak or chicken, so you'll divide it in half between your 2 freezer bags. Then you're gonna, we don't wash our hands yet, right?
No, because we're going to do the sweet and savory chicken if you have chicken. So just want to talk through that step now?
Well, why don't we're going to pause. We'll let you finish that.
That's true. This is going to take a little bit of time.
This is going to take a little time. We're going to finish this. Pause it. Finish your meat. Hit it with your knuckles.
Have someone else pause it for you.
Hit it with your knuckles.
Don't get salmonella on your phone.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
All right, meet us
so
back
we'll meet
here.
you back here in a second.
We are still in step 5. We're on part 2 of step 5. So now we're prepping the chicken for the sweet and savory chicken or salmon. Now, if you are using salmon, you can totally skip this step because you're going to freeze your salmon separately from the marinade. You don't mix them together before you freeze. So if you have salmon, you can go ahead and move on, fast forward to step 6. But if you have chicken, like me, this is what my meal is going to be. Or you didn't know you have salmon too. So what Rachel's doing is, again, slicing it into
cutlets.
Yeah,
so you have
lengthwise.
three chicken breasts that I'm cutting in half lengthwise. So I should have 6 chicken cutlets when you're done with this. What this does is it's awesome because it allows the marinade to really get into all of the chicken. And then it cooks up really fast. You can grill it later, you can bake it, that kind of thing.
Now, it's really important to have a very sharp knife when you're doing all this. So what you didn't see before this video is I sharpen that knife. I sharpen almost every time I use it before I cut a bunch of stuff like this. So that really helps that blade just like slice right through it. So,
all right, so I'll wash my hands and you guys can wash your hands, and then we're gonna seal all of our bags of marinade. Now notice Polly's gonna take chicken. I'm gonna use my marinade for salmon. So you don't want to freeze your salmon in the marinade. No, no, no.
Yes.
It'll break down that salmon.
Yep.
So we're going to freeze our salmon separately than our marinade. So I'm going to go ahead and wash up, seal, shake, and come back for the next step. Step 6, we're going to create our sweet and savory chicken or salmon meals and freeze those.
Yep.
So this is pretty easy, but Polly's got a grocery sack. You can use a big Ziploc if you want. But you want to freeze your marinade and your frozen salmon in the same bag if you're using salmon. That way it's ready as a kit. But if you use chicken, you put that directly in the marinade, remember? So this can go straight into the freezer. That can go straight into the freezer. Now, one thing to know is you could make this into a meal kit. Maybe this is for the future. There's actually frozen brown rice. There's frozen fajita veggies, not fajita veggies, sorry, wrong meal, like frozen stir-fry veggies.
Yes.
You could throw those into your meal kit and it's like all ready
Have
for
it all
you.
there. Yep.
All right, let's move on to step 7.
Step 7, it's really complicated. Are you ready for this? Just kidding. All you gotta do is make your meal kits. Again, that same concept. It's so nice to have everything there. You don't have to think about sides. You don't have to think about do you have the veggies. So in each bag, you're gonna put your marinated protein, either chicken or steak. Make sure you give it a good squish.
Yeah, give it a good squish. Make sure that
marinade mixes all over the protein. I just did that off camera too. You're gonna put your veggies, stir fry. We keep getting these mixed up. Your fajita veggies in there, and the tortillas. So now you have your kit. It's also a great meal to take to someone, you know, because it's just like ready to go. They have everything they need. So there you go. Finish up that, and we'll meet you back here for step 8.
We're working on our last meal. We're on step 8. We're gonna go ahead and make our chicken burgers. We're gonna stick them in freezer bags, and we're gonna seal them and go ahead and get that done.
Yep.
So here's how we're gonna start. You've bought panko breadcrumbs. I like the whole wheat ones, but they didn't have them at the store. So you want a cup to a cup and a half in a shallow dish like this. You just want enough to coat all your burgers. This is gonna go on the outside of your burgers, and it gives them a nice little crust. Polly's gonna work on the seasoning for your chicken burgers. So you're gonna start with 1.5 teaspoons of salt.
We're doing it all in this bowl where we're gonna make up the burgers anyway. It just, again, saves the dish.
And it really gets the seasoning blend all mixed together so you don't have like pepper on one side of a burger and, you know, salt on the other side. Yeah, so she just did 1 teaspoon of pepper. I'm gonna do, there's the garlic powder again, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. We love shared ingredients. 1 teaspoon of oregano. Crush this in your hand. I found if you put the teaspoon in your hand and really kind of move it around, it releases some of the oils, and it also kind of breaks it up so you're not like biting into a big chunk of oregano in your burger.
Here we go.
Okay. Now you want a 1/2 cup of that fresh parsley. So we actually went back, I was looking at it, I was like, my leaves are kind of big. I want that more minced.
Can you give me a 1/2 cup? Make sure I don't get too much in there. Or is this about, did we
I
measure
think that's
this
about right.
About right?
Yeah, I think you're good. Okay. So put your fresh parsley in there. If you don't have fresh parsley, we did give a substitution. You can do dried parsley. It still gives it that nice green color, not as much flavor.
Yeah.
And then 3 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. We're just going to squeeze both of those lemons over there. I think that's about right.
Yeah.
I like this trick you're doing.
Yeah, so what I'm doing here is I'm catching the seeds in my hand because we're going to eat this. If this is a marinade, I wouldn't worry about the seeds too much because it's like, yeah, they're going to come out. But since we're going to eat this, I don't really want to bite into a lemon seed or go fishing for it. So it just squeeze it over my hand here. So that's what I'm doing there.
Let me get you a fork to mix that up.
Yep. Stir it up. Squeezed out. We got 2 seeds with each one. There we go. All right. I'm just going to kind of mix this all up. Yep. Again, saving a dish here.
So you can use ground chicken or ground turkey because these flavors go well with turkey or chicken. So again, there's your protein adventure. All right.
About to get messy.
Chicken.
Here we go. We have conversations off camera about, okay, who's doing this one? Who's getting their hands dirty this time? Well, you chopped all the chicken and steak. I'll do this one. So here we go.
Yeah.
Now you don't want to like over mix the meat or else it gets a little dense and kind of too, I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for? Compacted or something? Funny cooking story, cooking fail. I think when the very first time I ever made meatballs, I was like, man, I'll just put them in the food processor. Like, rather than like use my hands, let's just let the food processor do the work. So they ended up like this highly processed, very weird textured meatballs.
Okay, so once she gets that pretty well combined, here's what we're having you do to make sure you have about evenly sized burgers, is you're gonna kind of pat it down just gently across the top.
Okay.
And then once you have it fairly flat on the top, you're going to score it with the side of your hand.
Okay.
You're going to quarter it. So once down one direction and once down the other direction. Make it like an X or a cross. Now, in each of those fourths, you're going to make 4 burgers. So each of the quarters, you know in your head, I got to make 4 burgers out of this.
Just kind of helps you. Yeah. Is even I'm going to just take half of one of these quarters and then kind of split it in half. And
you know what? And one of the tips too, I think, is I see this, your hands are getting really sticky.
They're getting sticky.
I think if you put a little water on your hands, which I'm going to use this
might be a little late
because
for
you're
that.
already chickeny, put your hands in some water.
A little late for that.
Put your hands in some water. I had to keep doing this when I was making them the other day.
Okay. So
I don't want your hands too wet because now your burgers are like wet. But.
Yep. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to pass this on to Panko. Panko land.
Okay, now I'm getting ready. So I got my bags open and ready, and I'm going to try not to touch the outside of my bag.
It's a little tricky.
So you're going to make 8 for each bag, and you're going to slide them in and put them in a single layer, okay? And we're going to freeze them flat because you don't want them to, like, freeze together and stick together.
Yep.
So in the panko, just make sure you have panko on both sides. If you want to go gluten-free with this, I tested these with gluten-free breadcrumbs from the store, and I did not like them.
Oh.
They're made with rice flour, and it stuck so bad. They were so sticky and like chewy. It was weird. So I would recommend either making your own breadcrumbs with like just good gluten-free bread from the store, and you can do that in your food processor. We have a blog post about that, don't we?
We do.
Or use almond meal. I think almond meal is actually really flavorful, and it's like, you know, it's ground almonds. So then it toasts up when you're going to cook these in a skillet with some oil. And the almond meal gets all toasty, and it actually adds a lot of flavor. They're good. My kids will eat them that way. They don't even realize that it's not breadcrumbs.
And adding this crust just, I feel like, makes them different than the average chicken burger.
Yeah.
You know, it just gives them kind of more texture and just makes it almost kind of that, like, fried feel, but it's not. So
well, and you don't have to eat these on a bun. That's optional because they're like patties, so you could just eat them as a patty. I think I recommend this in the packet, but we have this really delicious avocado aioli. Super easy. It sounds fancy. Very easy to make. You're just going to, in your food processor, put some ripe avocado, some mayo, and a few spices, and it turns into a delicious topping for this kind of meal. All right, so this is it for this round. So I've got 8 burgers in here. I'm going to move on to my next bag. And then after we're done filling these bags, we're going to wash our hands. We're going to squish out any extra air in these bags because air is the enemy of good
freezer food.
Good freezer food.
I was like, oh my gosh, I froze.
We are freezer cooking experts. Air is the enemy of good freezer food. We always say that. Right, Polly?
Yes. Yes, Rachel, yes.
So you're going to squeeze out your air. You're going to seal these, and you're going to wait for the next step because we're going to make a meal kit out of these if you want to.
We're on step 8, the final step. Again, very complicated. Ready for this? You're going to make your meal kits, and we have all the pieces you're gonna need to make your delicious chicken burgers here. So do lay these flat, or else they're going to kind of get on top of each other in the bags. So you wanna freeze these as flat as possible, and then you can just put in your cheese and bread or buns on top of that and freeze it as a kit. You have everything you need. So, we did it.
It goes in the freezer.
Yep.
Meet us back here.
Congratulations, you just made 6 meals.
In just 1 hour.
Yep, meal kits actually.
Yeah.
Like you have all the things you need. So guys, your future self is gonna thank you so much. You can find more prep sessions at 1hourfreezerprep.com.
Thanks for joining us.